I'll give time till 6:15 or if I do this question. Those are done with the question or can raise their hands up. Others do this question now. At 6:15, I will be discussing it. Those who join now, do these questions. Once you're done with this question, you can raise your hands up. Okay, 5 of you are done with the questions. Others also try doing this quickly. And if you're done, you can raise your hands up. We'll have 5 more minutes to do this question. So make sure you complete it properly. And those who wrote the answer, double check if your answer is correct. Those who are done with answering the question, raise your hands up in Zoom. Okay, time up. Let's start the discussion now. You can stop doing your work and correct your answers now, right? Okay, let's go through the question. A company, Tech Solution, is collaborating with a software development firm called Software Pro to implement an enterprise resource planning system. The goal is to streamline operation across various departments. Initially, both parties will evaluate the technical feasibility and organizational readiness for this change. Once the initial assessment is complete, Software Pro system analysts will engage in an in-depth discussion with the department heads at Tech Solutions to understand their workflow process and gather existing documentation. The ERP system will initially focus on integrating the finance and inventory management function with plans to include other departments over time. It will be deployed in the finance department to monitor its effectiveness before a full-scale rollout. Okay. Now, if you notice when I read this question, there are certain things I would have highlighted here. Always, when you're doing these kind of questions, not only in my IT, even other subjects as well, when you get questions where they're giving a passage and they're going to ask questions, just figure out what are the important facts, important data, and underline them or else highlight them. There's actually a technical term for that. If you attend my grade 10 class, in the grade 10 class, I told you that term. It's called abstraction. The technical meaning of this is called abstraction, which is you have a whole data, you have too much of data, you have this whole paragraph, you take the important points, right? So it's called abstraction. Again, that's unworded for all, just extra knowledge. But yeah, let's focus on the questions. Identify what the initial study conducted by both the parties before developing the ERP system. Okay. Normally, before you start developing a system, there is a study called as feasibility study, which you do. Okay. So under feasibility study, you have different types of feasibility. There's something called as technical feasibility. There's something called as legal feasibility. There's something called operational feasibility. There's something called as financial feasibility. Yeah, there are a couple of types of feasibility studies, right? So if you look at this question, initially they're asking what is the initial study conducted by both the parties before developing the system. The study is called feasibility study. Okay. List an example of such mentioned above. You can see in this question they have mentioned about technical feasibility and this is operational feasibility. Even though they have mentioned organization readiness, this is talking about something called as operational feasibility. So you can mention anything you want. So you have to mention either one of them only because they are asking an example in the above paragraph. No? So you take this above paragraph, they have talked about technical feasibility. And they have talked about operational feasibility. That's organization readiness is operational feasibility. What is feasibility? Normally, before you start developing a system, you always go and check, can we do this? So like evaluating whether you can do something is what you call as feasibility study in simple terms, right? So for example, if you take this feasibility study, there's something called technical feasibility. I told you, no? In technical feasibility, what we do is we'll like, technically, can we build this solution? For example, let's say I'm a person who is developing website, web developer, okay? And you come and tell, I want to integrate a gaming part in the website, right? Imagine gaming part in the website, meaning, let's say you want for the students to be able to play games in the website, you want to do it. Now, I am a person who does not know to develop games. So when you come and ask me, okay, this is my requirement, I want like this a game in the website, I'll be like, sorry, I don't know to develop games. I'm only developing websites. I can't do this. I will not be able to take up this project. So what is the issue I had here? Technical issue. I was not able to do it, but you could because I don't have enough of knowledge in that criteria, right? So in technical feasibility, we also see is there any technical issues that we are having? If there is no technical issues, then we continue to the development stage. I mean, we go for the requirement analyzing stage. Okay. And if you take legal feasibility, here we check is your requirement. Now the client has a requirement. Now, is a client requiring a legal project? Now, for example, in Sri Lanka, you can't do You can't sell what do you call, let's say, drugs and all. No, obviously, you can't deal with drugs. So let's say a person is coming and approaching your company and saying, I want a website that I can go and sell all these stuffs. Tell me, can you go and make and give that person that website? If he's going to ask you a website for an illegal transaction, can you do it? No, that's a legal issue. So in legal feasibility, we see is a client's requirement legally can we do it? Okay, or is it illegal? So only if it is legal, we proceed. If I feel like Ada, your requirement is illegal, if I feel like you're asking something bad, I'll be like, no, legally your what you call requirement is upside down. I can't do it. Okay. Now some things are there. For certain countries it is legal. For certain countries it is illegal. Okay. So again, you have to go and check with the respective country. It can now, I mean, in small stuff, there's no big issue. When you get a real world problem, you always see is it a legal solution I'm giving him or not. Okay, that's what legal feasibility is. Then if you take financial feasibility, here what we do is we tell the what do you call, or let's say you want to create a system, right? And I'm giving you a quotation. I'm saying the amount is going to be 100,000 to build this system. Now, when I say 100,000, you will be like, okay, I can pay it. You will be telling me. But how can I trust that you will be able to pay me? Because you will not pay me before I start the project. Sometimes you might pay me an advance before, and after I complete, you might pay another advance. Or I mean the balance, something that only. So in feasibility, so in financial feasibility, what I'll do is I'll be like, do you have the proper financial background? Can you afford this amount? I'll go and study about you and see, okay, is your business making profit? Are you actually in a stage that you can pay me this amount? I'll go and analyze you. If I notice this bug is earning itself maximum around 10,000 per month, how is this bug going to what do you call pay me 100,000? It might take around 10 months. Kira? I'll be like, no, I don't. What do you call when I analyzed you, right? So like you don't have enough of money, and I'm going to reject your offer. Okay. So likewise, in these different types of feasibility study, what we do is we go and check is our project suitable? Can we start the project? Because once you start the project, for example, once you start obtaining requirements, designing, developing, it's going to take a huge amount of time. So before you invest that time, you're going to do a small research, a small analysis and see, can we take up this project? So that is what you call as a feasibility study. Understood? List two techniques that can be employed to gather the system requirements. Okay, operational feasibility is like, can we run it using the existing system? Like for example, imagine you want to you're asking for, let's say, um, you're asking for a system, and I know I'm going to let's say develop a system that can be run in Windows 10 laptops. So what I might do is I might go to your office and see, do you have Windows 10? Someday you might not even have a laptop. You might be having only phones in the office. Then that's an operational piece. You can't use the application. Operation is that's happening. No, it can't happen in your. The application is unable to run in a company. That kind of a scenario. You can solve operational feasibility. Okay, next. List two techniques that can be employed to gather the system requirements. What is the answer? Tell me some ways you can use to find the user's requirements. Correct. What are the ways you can follow to get the user's requirements? Yes. To understand the user's requirement, one thing is you can interview that person. Okay, you can talk with him, have a conversation, and identify what are the requirements he has. Then we have observation. We can go to his office and see what is the current process he's following. Or we can give them questionnaires, like a question paper or a Google form kind of scenario, and get his answers. Or we can go and collect sample document. Like for example, let's say I'm going to create a invoice system. I can go and collect his currently his bill book, his cash book, all and see how is his invoice happening. So sample document collection. And then apart from this, other one is prototyping. Prototyping means something like this. Let's say you're asking what do you call LMS. If you ask a learning management system, what I can do is I can show you Master IT website. Master IT website is learning management system. Master Maths is a learning management system. Okay, I can show you this website as, okay, do you want something else? Do you want something else? Do you want something else? I can use this as a dummy version, as a demo version, and I can analyze your requirements a bit more. That's what I guess prototyping. Okay, so if you have mentioned any one of this: interview, observation, questionnaires, sample document collection, prototyping. If you have mentioned any one of these or any synonyms respect to this, you will be getting 2 marks, 1 mark each. The question number one also for the A part, it's feasibility study 1 mark. For the B part, if you had mentioned one of the feasibility studies, again 1 mark, either technical or operational. If you have any questions, drop in the chat. What is prototype? Just now I told you. Imagine you want a learning management system. Okay. Now, Master ID is one of the learning management systems. Master Maths is another learning management system. So I can take these as example websites and I can show you and ask, okay, do you want something like this? Do you want a feature like this? Okay, I can take this as an example and get your requirements. Imagine you want an e-commerce website for me. I can take, let's say, AliExpress, Dara's website, and I can show you, okay, do you want a website like this? Killer? Okay, you want to replace this feature with this feature. Killer? I can take a demo website, an existing website as a Baliade, and I can understand your requirements. That's what prototyping is. For B, I wrote both answers. So 2 marks, no. Total 1 mark. See, I mentioned the marks in the right hand side. The question's total marks is 1 mark. So if you mention one answer, two answer, we get only 1 mark. If they ask to define prototype, how much? Mostly they will not ask to define this because these are words. They will not come and ask you what do you mean by interview, because that is a word. Okay, that's a simple English word. So if they ask you define prototyping, you can mention referring an existing system and understanding similarities between the client's requirement with respect to that system. You understand the client's requirement with respect to a current existing system. Current existing system means not the company's existing system, in a world an existing system. Got it? Yeah. Okay, next. What is the deployment method that can be employed? Okay, now when you're deploying a system, deployment means releasing the system to the public. Okay, when you're deploying an application, you have something called direct deployment, parallel deployment, phased deployment, pilot deployment. Could you have? Based on this scenario, what do you think is the most suitable type of deployment? Yes. The most suitable deployment is pilot deployment. The reason is because if you take this system, we're not going to release this system for everyone at once. If you look at the paragraph properly, you can see here they have mentioned it will be first deployed to the finance department and it will monitor the effectiveness before a full scale out, which means before it give for all other departments. You can see the company has a finance department, inventory management department, and other departments are there. Before it gives the other department, it's going to first of all give it only to the finance department. That is what you call as pilot deployment. In pilot deployment, we don't directly give it for the whole what you call all the users to use. We'll give only a group of users to use. So here you can see without giving all the company staffs to use, all the departments, they're going to take a specific group and test it out with them only. Only if it is successful with them, they will release it to the remaining people. That is why pilot deployment is suitable here. Is that clear of you? Only pilot deployment, others are also wrong. Salman, did you get the answer for your question? Okay, perfect. Name an advantage of the deployment method you mentioned above. The main advantage we have in pilot deployment is it's less risky. You must know. Okay. What I mean by less risky is if you take, I have to elaborate this answer. Like what I mean by that is now if you take a pilot deployment, okay. Now let's say this company has around 100 staffs working. In a class, in a company, there are 100 staffs working, and let's say there are 10 departments. Okay. And in each department, let's say there are 10 staffs working. There are 10 departments. Each department, there are 10 staffs working. Now, let's say if the system had some issues, it was malfunctioning. The system was not functioning properly. If the system was not functioning properly, now is it going to affect 100 people or is it going to affect only 10 people if I do pilot deployment? Yes. You can see it's going to affect only a small group of people. So is the reason possible can identify any errors before publishing it for large scale? Wrong. You can do that same thing in other deployment as well. Can identify if the new system is effective before scale rollout. Almost correct. Can get reviews from a selective set of people to further develop. No, the main feature of the main advantage behind pilot deployment is a less risky. There's a name for that. It's called. There's a better wording for that. Not coming to my head. You can mention that. What do you call better damage control? Better damage control. What I mean by better damage control is the same thing of less risky only. Now, if you notice here, if there's a error caused by the system, it's going to be caused only for 10 people. But if I had done direct deployment or parallel deployment or pilot deployment, like basically if I had deployed this to the whole company, any other deployment methods, it will affect all the employees. But because I have done pilot, it's going to affect only one department if the system malfunctions. Got it? It's not risk free, it's less risky. Yeah? There are risks in pilot deployment, obviously, but it's less risky comparatively. Can you explain phased deployment? In phased deployment, without deploying a full system at once, you're going to develop the system piece by piece. Actually, in this, if you read this part of the sentence, they're talking about phased deployment only. First, they are see here they have mentioned that they have made the finance and inventory first. Later, they are going to make the system for other department. So if you read this first sentence, it's talking about phased deployment. But if you read the last part where they're talking about, they have mentioned a deployed killer, how it will be deployed. So the last sentence, if you see, they're saying they're going to deploy it only for the finance, not for the inventory. So phased deployment is without developing the whole system at once, piece by piece. Actually, Master ID is phased deployment. Like currently Master ID website has only purchasing of classes. Okay, so there'll be one phase. So next phase store might come. After that phase, let's say the what do you call the forum might come. So it's phase by phase without developing the whole thing at once. I'm releasing to the public piece by piece. That's what phase development is. Able to identify whether the system is functioning correctly in a particular area and or not used to identify or area or not an easy to identify. Even though your answer is almost closer, those are not suitable answers. Correct. You can give marks for now, but always be a bit precise to your answer because the answer which I'll give, it is correct for pilot deployment, but it is not unique for pilot deployment. Is my problem. My point. Okay. Your answer which I'll mention, that's an advantage for the deployment methods as well. So when you're giving such answers, see, can you give an answer like specific? Now this answer is specified to what do you call pilot deployment. In other deployment, you don't have it's have a the damage control is not as effective as phase deployment. Sorry, pilot deployment. Okay, next. What is it? What's the one doubt? If you have any questions, drop in the chat. Actually, the first part was regarding SDLC, that lesson. If something happens that would crash the system, only that part would crash and the rest would be safe. No. That's something like phased deployment, not phased deployment. Now, if a system gets crashed, the whole system will get crashed. It don't be only one section. Okay, next. Name a service provided by the operating system for each of the below functions. Right. Now, if you take operating system, you can what do you call categorize the services of operating system mainly into two categories. What are the two main categories in terms of services of an operating system? If you take the services of operating system, there are mainly two categories. What are those two categories? Correct. Yes. One of the main services providing interface, providing an interface. And the second main service is basically managing the hardware. If you take providing interface, we learn two types of interface. What are the two types of interface? Android, iOS are examples of operating system. I asked you what are the two types of two services of operating system. Yes, in terms of providing interface, we have a command line interface and a graphical user interface. In terms of managing hardware, you all learned 6 sub processes like process management, memory management, disk management, file management, network management killer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Network management and then security management killer. There are 6 sub processes you all learned. So this question is asking under each process to give an example. Now under device management, you can say managing device drivers. Managing device drivers. Like for example, when you're installing some softwares, you have to install a driver as well. For example, when mainly you're using the printers, not software in certain hardwares. You're using mostly printers. Most of the printers, not all, but most of the printers, you can't plug and play. Before you plug and play, you can't just directly connect the USB and start printing. If you want to use a printer, you always install a separate software called a driver. Okay, you can go to Google and search the respective brands, what do you call driver, and that driver will allow you to control the printer. Okay, so under device management, we have that part, the managing device drivers. So you can mention that there. And then for file management, we can mention manages the file operations. You can mention example, creating files, updating files, deleting files. You can elaborate your answer as well. Okay. And then in security management, you can say protecting the device from virus. I just wrote manage files. No, it should be file operations. And under memory management, you can mention managing, let's say, how do I put the RAM here? So you can say managing the freeing up space once a process is done. Oh, that's process management. So I can mention about oh, that comes under that memory management. Freeing up a space, freeing up space once a process is completed. Okay, so you can mention these kind of answers. I'll show you what are the possible answers. I gave you some examples here. Okay, apart from this, if you want about possible answers, you can mention any of these. Let me show you the answers. Store all necessary and data requires and backups are used. No. The possible answers are these. These are the possible answers you can mention respectively. For memory management, you can mention this. Allocating RAM and then storing the data temporarily in RAM. And then for device management, see I mentioned managing the device drivers. So you can manage controlling hardware using device driver. That's also correct. So these are the possible answer. Clear? Make sure to activate drivers when they are connected to this connected. Is this correct? Not make sure to activate drivers. You can mention activate drivers to control the hardware or to control the peripheral device. Yes, instead of virus, you can mention malware as well, correct? Anyone having any other questions here? Okay, so see if your answer comes under any of these sub parts, and if so, you can give there again a mark. Is STS the most complex lesson in ICU? Mad. STS is the most easiest lesson. We completed STS last year in 1 day, whole lesson. And this year it took 2 days, I guess, but last year we did STS lesson in 1 year, 1 day. Just 2 hours for the whole lesson. Okay, next. Write down the full forms of the below abbreviations. What does BIOS stand for? What does BIOS stand for? Making sure the process memory of the CPU is distributed according to making sure the processing memory of the CPU. No, Mariam, that comes under process management. You can your whole paragraph you can write in one line called managing CPU time. So your point is regarding managing CPU time. That comes under process management. Okay, Mariam? Yes, the BIOS stands for basic input output system. What does POST stand for? Yes, POST stands for power on self test. What does CMOS stands for? Not computer. Yes, complementary. Correct. CMOS stands for complementary metal oxide semiconductor. And then what does MBR stands for? Yes, MBR stands for master boot record. So if you take the marks breakdown, you can look at the question which I mentioned. Okay, so for mentioning about feasibility study, you get 1 mark. For mentioning either technical feasibility or operational feasibility, one of them, 1 mark. Let me put one fellow in the waiting room for spam in the chat. Okay. And then for two techniques, again 1 mark each. For observation, 1 mark. Interview, I mean, any exam you mention, 1 mark each. For pilot deployment, 1 mark. For one of the advantage, 1 mark. And for device management, if you had mentioned one example, 1 mark. Maybe file management, one example, 1 mark. Security management, one example, 1 mark. Memory management, one example, 1 mark. For BIOS, explaining half marks. The full form, post full form half marks, CMOS full form half marks, MBR full form half marks. Yeah, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Sorry, here it's not 1 mark, it's half mark 6. Sorry. For the Roman number 1, it's half mark for each example. Huh? So half marks for this, half marks for this, half marks for this, and half marks for this. Okay, drop in the chat how much you got out of 10 here, all of you. What is POST? It's power on self-test. That's the first program that runs when your computer is functioning. It checks if the hardware are working properly. It's a part of operating system. Enables to apply fingerprints and passwords for security. Wrong. How many marks for B? It's mentioned in the front. You can refer these marks. I put planning for the first answer. No, no, no. Ah, that's fine, Hajra. Aisha, you got the marks right for the question you were asking. Okay, perfect. Anyone having any questions here? Again, if you take this lesson, if you take that question, what happens is the first few questions were regarding these SDLC, second few questions regarding operating system. Questions are very easy, right? See, the papers are easy. I told you when I make papers, the papers are very easy. It's a piece of cake, exactly. Anyways, again, another easy question. I'll give you all 10 minutes. Quickly do this. What's time now? Actually, I can pray and come and do this. I'll give you all in total. It's an easy question. So with the praying, I'll give you all 10 minutes. I'm going to discuss this at, you can pray and come and do, or you can do and pray. 6:46, 6:56. Okay, at 7 p.m., I'm going to discuss this question. Okay, we're going to pray. Others quickly do this question. Once you're done with this question, raise your hands up. Huh? Quickly do this question. Once you're done, raise your hands up. Yes, possible, Sahil. If you have any questions, drop in the chat. I'll just quickly go and pray and come. Okay, how many of you are done? If you're done, raise your hands up. Huh? Only five of you. Others do quickly. I'll have 6 more minutes remaining. Actually, all should have been done by now. We have 4 more minutes, but to be on the correct speed, by now I should have completed this whole question. Hmm. Sahil, I go through yesterday's recording and find the answer. Those are done. Raise your hands up. So I know you're done. Didn't I send it to you, Nabiha? Shoot. I have it in academy phone only. It's in academy. I was going to send it to you that day. Okay. I might go to the academy tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll send you. Okay. If possible, just I think you already messaged me. I'll check. I'll check. Is it done, bro? Next. Okay, time up. Let's start the discussion. Okay, sorry for correct your answer. Nimal is an outstanding athlete in the Western Province MT Chas Ganeyamulla Vidyalaya. He ran 100 meters in 12 seconds. Okay, there is a fellow called Nimal, and he's an outstanding athlete, it seems. And he has run 100 meters in 12 seconds. Which was the fastest time in school? He has blue eyes and is 1.75 meter tall. Write to qualitative data and write to quantitative data from the above. Okay. Now, you might just using your simple English, tell me, when you take qualitative data and quantitative data, which one sounds like something that can be measured? By just reading those two words, tell me, out of these two, which one do you think can be measured? Is it quantitative or qualitative? Which one can be measured? Exactly. When you are saying about a quantity, the main feature about a quantity is it can be measured. Can we measure a quality to an exact value? Now, for example, I'm saying a person has blue eyes, or I'm saying that person is outstanding student, or he's the best in class. He's a good student. He's a bad student. These are all qualities. These qualities it cannot be measured. So when you ask about qualitative data, you can mention the data that you cannot measure. Okay, mostly it's adjectives that you cannot measure. Right. For example, if you see the scenario, outstanding. Outstanding is something you cannot measure. And then you can mention outstanding athlete. You can write just outstanding, or you can write outstanding athlete. Everything is fine. Okay. Apart from that, let's say he's the fastest time. Then if you take blue eyes, now if I say blue eyes, can you like measure how much of blue it is? Is there like a value? If I say okay, that bug has blue eyes, like can you measure like how much of blue he's having? Like can you like imagine your head? No. Okay. So these are all the qualitative data we have in our scenario. Tell me what are the quantitative data you can see in this scenario? What are the quantitative data you can see here? Exactly. 100 meters. You can imagine how much 100 meters is. Then 12 seconds. Again, you can measure how much 12 seconds is. And then 1.75 meters tall. Again, so you can measure these. So always keep in mind, if your data can be measured, then that is a quantitative data. If your data cannot be measured, that's called a qualitative data. If you mention the first whole sentence, is it wrong? It's fine, but be bit precise. Now we are talking about outstanding, but outstanding athlete. The adjective and the noun. Just mention the adjective. You all know what is adjective noun, right? Don't make this sound like English class, huh? So just mention the adjective and the noun. It's right. So here, fastest time, the adjective and the noun. Blue eyes, adjective and the noun. Why am I sounding like an English teacher? Will they say it's information and not data? Um, less chance. These are all Baba questions. They will not make fuss about it. The purpose of these questions are itself people who are weak at IT to score marks. So they don't make the marking scheme very difficult in these kind of questions. Exactly, Baba questions. Next. Samantha works in a different city. Any other before I go for the next question? Anyone having any other questions? First time, fastest time can be measured now. Okay. Ilman, tell me what is the time? Tell me a value for this fastest time. You're saying fastest time can be measured. Tell me how much is fastest time. You're telling this is another data. Without this data, you're telling me what is fastest time. You're referring another data now. If I come and tell you this is the fastest time, that's fine. If you're telling he ran 100 meters in 12 seconds, which was the fastest, that's the information. That whole parallel line, if you tell, it's information based, like Navi has it a while ago. I'm saying if I come and tell you fastest time, this is the fastest time. How would you tell it as? 12 seconds, which was the fastest time. Fastest time, 12 seconds, which was the fastest time, that's an information. Now, second is one data, 100 meters is one data, fastest time is one data. So can you give a value for that fastest time? When you say fastest time, your values should not be varying based on situations. If you're giving a value, it has to be a fixed value. If I put this fastest time in a different sentence also, it should have the same value. Now, for example, here I mentioned he ran 100 meters, right? Now, for example, if I use 100 meters is a quantitative data. No? If I put a sentence like this, there was a table that was 100 meters. Now, in that sentence, there was a table that is 100 meters, and in this sentence, he ran 100 meters. Are the quantities different? No. Here also 100 meters is 100 meters. There also 100 meters is 100 meters. But in a different sentence, if I use this word called fastest time, okay, for example, let's say I'll be like, to go from, let's say I'm saying to go from Dehiwala to, let's say I'm saying to go from Dehiwala to Vellavata, the fastest time is, if you go, the fastest time you can reach there is in 20 minutes, I'm saying, or in 50 minutes, I'm saying. So there I'm saying fastest time. Here also I'm using the word fastest time. But are both those fastest time the same? In my sentence, I said to go from Dehiwala to Kolana, it takes 15 minutes. Here I'm saying the fastest time that this person has run, 12 seconds, which is the fastest time. Now, is the value of fastest time both same then? No, right? So when you say the word fastest time, you cannot measure that data. We're always talking about data, especially in these kind of scenarios. You take here the noun and the respective adjective only. Got it? That is why fastest time is not a quantity. We can apply same logic to 1.7 feet meter also. Yeah, 1.75 meter. If you take a table, a chair, anything you take, it's going to be 1.75 meters. Wherever you go, 1.75 is 1.75. Because it can be measured. Next, Samantha works in a different city from her family. The family keeps in touch with her through phone calls. She suggested that using video calls could make communication more personal and interactive. List 4 prerequisites for video conferencing. Right. To video conference, first of all, you would have a device. Then the device should have internet. And then the device should have an application that can communicate through video conferencing. And lastly, you need a camera or else a webcam. Both are same. Okay. So when they ask for the 4 main prerequisites, it's device, internet connection, application, and camera. These are the 4 main prerequisites. So for each prerequisite, you get half marks here. Half marks for each prerequisite you write. Will app come? Yes, app is also correct. Application, app, both are same. Can we say video conferencing software? Correct. Application, both are having the same meaning. I wrote speaker too. Is it correct? No, speaker is not correct. Why camera and a different device? Device is called your laptop, computer, all those stuff. Now, mostly we take computers. In computers, mostly do you find a camera included in it? If you take majority of the computers, 99% of the computers, do you have a camera inbuilt in it? No. So we are talking mostly in the scenario of computers. No, you take about IC, we're mostly talking about computers. So if you're going to use a computer and you want to have video conferencing, you have to have a separate webcam because it's very rare you get a monitor with a webcam. Nowadays, a bit yes, but especially if you take majority in the larger complex context, mostly you don't get the camera in devices. That's why we mentioned device separately and camera separately. Is that clear? Okay. List two other methods a family could use to communicate with. Are they connected? What do you mean? You mean is a camera connected to the device? Yeah, even I'm using a webcam. You can say the camera has been turned, right? That's because it's a webcam. My device is here and my camera webcam is separate. I can't show you the webcam directly, but this is a webcam. So my webcam is connected. Yes. Anyways, next. List two other methods her family could use to communicate with Samantha using the internet. So you can mention for this email, instant messaging, social media. Social media is not a suitable answer. Okay. The most suitable answer I would suggest is using email or using instant messaging application. You can be a bit collaborative. Huh? Mostly in answer scheme, they might mention these three answers. So better avoid using examples. Now, if you take WhatsApp as an example for instant messaging application, because they are not asking you some mediums, they're asking some methods. So when you're talking about method, it's like asking about the heading. So WhatsApp is an example application that comes for instant messaging. What a brain said. Anyways, so for each example, put half marks. Like mention two examples, no? Half marks for each example here. Instead of instant messaging, can I write direct messaging? Direct messaging does not use internet. The question is asking which uses internet. Direct messaging does not use internet, so no marks. Can we write voice calls? Voice call does not use internet. Unless you mention about like WhatsApp calls, kind of like, again, that's not very suitable here. When you say the voice call, the first idea that comes to voice call is normal call, right? Even though WhatsApp calls we call as voice call, and we normally call it as video conferencing applications, right? So yeah. So these are the suitable answer: email and instant messaging. Social media, if you want, I can give you marks, but don't mention examples. Huh? I need the type of application. That's why methods. Next, consider the following URL and answer the below questions. Identify the parts of the URLs. Okay, so A is called protocol, B is the subdomain, C is the top level domain, and D is the path, E is the resource. So you'll be getting here marks, half marks each. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Half marks each. Next. Liam tells Emma that he reads a fascinating blog post about the benefits of meditation. Although Liam can remember the title of the post as The Power of Meditation, he cannot recall the URL. Write down the steps that Emma should follow to find this blog post on the internet. What is the answer for this question? What do you think Emma should use? Emma could use a type of application to find the result. What type of application? Normally, if you want to visit a website and you don't know the URL of the website, then what do you use? Yes, you use a search engine, not a browser. You use a search engine. Okay, so you can mention the answer as using a search engine or using a search engine. She can enter the title and find the website. only if your answer has this keyword called search engine. If your answer doesn't have search engine, if you're jabbered, no marks. If you mention the answer word called search engine, you'll be getting half marks. Is that clear, Alaka? For browser or no marks, the word search engine has to be there. What if I say Google? Wrong. Google is an example for a search engine. Again, I'll give you marks depending on, that's not precise. It depends on who's marking your paper and your marks can vary. If you're going to be the safe side, if it's like general rules, then you will not get marks. But if the examiners like Pavam, Patu, Paune, this Raminakil, if they give marks, you'll be getting marks. General rule, you will not get marks. Okay. Next. So always make sure your answer is precise. Don't give a chance for the examiner to cut your marks. Next. Name the three parts of a CPU along with their use. What are the three parts of a CPU? ALU, CU, and memory registers. So ALU, also known as arithmetic logical units, it's in charge of performing calculations. Performing arithmetic calculations and logical decisions. And control it, it controls the devices. I'll check that just now. Controls devices connected to the computer. Yes, you can mention devices, hardware, both are correct. And memory registers, you can mention temporarily stores the data. Required for processing. Okay. So if you had mentioned the answers with the, what do you call the, with the explanation. For example, for ALU, you get 0.25 marks. For CU, 0.25 marks. For memory register, 0.25 marks. For explain the function, 0.25. Explain the function, 0.25. Explain the function, 0.25. So total you have 0.25 into 6. Okay. For ALU mentioning 0.25. If you mention ALU and its function, then half marks, something like that. That's how the marks are being broken down here. In terms of computer memory, RAM is considered as volatile memory, while ROM is considered as non-volatile. What does volatile mean? Okay, a quick question for all of you. When you off the current, or when the memory loses power supply, if the data is going to get lost, when the memory loses power supply, if the data is going to get lost, is it volatile or non-volatile? Yes. If the data is lost, it's volatile. So you can mention data loss. Data is lost when the memory, when the storage device, when the storage device loses power. So you call this feature as volatile memory. Okay, so for mentioning that, you'll be getting half marks. Now tell me, out of 10 marks, how much marks you all got here? Can we write as computer power? You mean volatile memory means computer power like that? Data is lost when system is switched off. Wrong. I talked about the system will close when the power goes off. I didn't talk about data. Wrong. The last question's answer I written here. See, the data is lost when the storage device loses power. When will you say how to join the recap class? Tonight or tomorrow morning? I'm still replying messages, man. Don't worry, your message will be replied within today tomorrow. Anyone have any questions here? Okay, next. All of you try doing the sixth question now. I'll give you all 10 minutes for this. Actually, wait. Let's do the Roman number 1 and 2 now. I'll give you 5 minutes. Okay, so 5 minutes I'll give you time to do, and 5 minutes I'll discuss. Do only these two questions, Roman number 1 and Roman number. Now discuss at 7:25. Yes, Aisha. I'm going to put all of your hands down. Once done with Roman number 1 and Roman number 2, raise your hands up. We'll have 1 more minute. Others who are doing still quickly. Let me check. Kumar. Yeah. Okay, time up. Let's answer the questions now. Okay. Amal has been elected as the president in his school media club. To celebrate this, his friends have decided to make a post and share on social media. What do you think is a suitable type of graphic they should design the post in? What is the answer you wrote? Raster or vector? Actually, when you take raster graphics and vector graphics, out of both of them, which one is more suitable for sharing on social media? It is raster graphics. What is vector graphics more suitable for? In what kind of scenario? Yes. Vector graphics is suitable for printing scenarios. Okay. For normal posters which are going to share in social media, raster graphics is more suitable because by default, if you take the images that you share in social media, it's going in raster graphics. So imagine you design something vector graphics. After you design something vector graphic, if you share that design through WhatsApp or Instagram or Facebook or wherever, automatically it will be converted back to raster graphics, right? So only if you're printing, there will be a big difference. Apart from that, if you take into normal social media sharing, there won't be a difference. Okay, so you go for raster graphics. Only printing scenarios, you go for vector graphics. Next, justify whether the answer you mentioned above is more suitable comparatively. So you can mention there because social media applications by default shares the image as raster graphics. Or you can mention by default it compresses the image as to raster graphics. I wrote because if the image is shared in social media, the image quality will reduce. Even if you design vector graphics, it will happen no. So I think raster, you're saying I think raster graphics. So what is the advantage of raster graphics there? So there should be a reason why you said raster, right? So the reason we said raster is because by default, what is being shared on the social media is raster graphics. What lesson is this? Media, multimedia. Lesson number 4. What is a suitable color model they could use? What is a suitable color model? Yes. The suitable color model they can follow is the RGB color model. Again, what is the reason? What is the reason? Multiple colors can be used even in CMYK you can. CMYK is more suitable for printing, but what is the reason why do you think RGB is suitable here? Bias correct. Yes. Normally, you decide whether to go for RGB model or CMYK model based on where is this image or where is this design going to be presented. Now, if you take a social media post, it is going to be presented on screens. By default, if you take all the screens, any screen by default, if you take, the screen follow RGB model or the screen follows CMYK color model. The digital screens, yes. By default, if you take the what do you call digital screens, they follow the RGB color model, right? Where do you find the CMYK color model? In which situations then? Yes, CMY color models are used in printing scenarios, right? Keep that in your mind. So why the answer is more suitable for this, you can mention because generally digital screens are built up built using the RGB color model. Okay, so that's going to be your reasoning. Got it, all of you? Okay, if you have any questions, drop in the chat, right? When sharing images, they had noticed that the image is too large in size. Name two elements that the file size of a digital graphic depends on. What are the things? We learned three things. Out of three things, one is common for raster vector both, and one is specific only for raster, one is specific only for the vector. Yes. One is the resolution. Using resolution, we can tell the number of pixels used. Resolution indirectly means the number of pixels. Now, if you take a vector graphic, you don't find pixels. Instead of pixels in vector graphics, what do you find? In vector graphics, instead of pixels, what do you find? Lines, number of lines. And then apart from that, so resolution is for raster graphics mainly, number of lines is mainly for vector graphics, and what is common for both mainly is the number of colors used. Number of colors used. What is a digital screen? The normal screen which you have, phone screen, laptop screen, computer screens, these are called digital screens. Suggest a method to reduce the file size of the image. What is the process of reducing file size called as? If you want to reduce the size of a file, what do you call that process as? Yes, I can mention here file compression. If you are written any compression is fine, huh? Like data compression or just compression, any type of compression is fine. Compression is the keyword here. Okay, in terms of marks breakdown, it's like this. For the first question, you get half marks each. Second question, you get Roman number one, you get half marks each. So you're asking two elements, no? So for each element, you get half marks. And suggest a method. For compression, you get 1 mark. Tell me out of 1, 2, 3, 4. Out of 4 marks, how much you'll get? Sorry, 5 marks, no? Oh, no, 4 marks. Out of 4 marks. Here 1 mark, two, so 2 marks, 3 marks, 4 marks. Good, good, good. Okay, the remaining part let's discuss in next class. Anyone having any questions based on what we learned today? So yeah, today we're done with there, up to there. But yeah, anyone have any questions based on what we learned today? Okay, so we're done for the day. If you have any questions, you can stay and ask. Others, you can leave. So vector is like for printing something. Mostly vector is more suitable for printing. That's the main purpose. Because if you take even if this in the tute, you can see I written these words, right? This whatever I have written using my graphics tab is actually vector. So if I zoom, can you see the quality still remain the same? Is my letters quality? You can't see pixelation. The reason is because this is also vector graphics. So whenever if you have a situation where you want to make sure that the quality remains constant, how much you zoom, it's vector graphics. So mostly we use vector graphics when it comes to printing scenarios. But that doesn't mean you can't use it for social media, right? You can, but not suitable. And Rust is all about quality. No, Rust is more suitable for, but you actually it's like this. Now, for example, let's say you design a what you call picture in vector graphics. Okay, saving the picture saving the picture. Let's say you save the picture as JPG. If you save the picture as .jpg, automatically it's going to become a raster graphics. So when you're sharing in the internet, when you're sharing in your WhatsApp or even Instagram, wherever you're sharing, the image file will be then .jpg, .png, .jpeg, something like this. No, all these are raster graphic file format. You can't share vector graphic files in your digital devices. The vector graphic files are .pdf. Can you share image as a PDF? You can share the PDF as a PDF, but can you share like for example in Instagram? Can you go and post a PDF? In Facebook, can you go and post an image as a PDF? No. So PDF is a vector graphics file format. Then there's something called .ai. Okay. When you make the files in Adobe Illustrator, you get .ai. You can't go and post .ai files. Then you have .eps. These are all vector graphics file format. Vector graphics file format you can't go and post in social media. You can't go and post in any devices. Mostly to open that itself, you might need a specific application. Now, these are the raster graphics file format. So by default, let's say you made the image using what you call Illustrator, Adobe Illustrator or Corel Draw, whatever application. When you're saving, if you save the image as JPG, automatically it's converted to a raster back. So in this JPG image, if you zoom in, you can see pixelation. You can't see pixelation only if it's a PDF, AI, EPS, those file formats. Got it? How to reduce file size? Compression. You can just go to Google and search for image compressors. There are a lot of applications. Now in my laptop, I have an installed application, but you don't have to install anything. Just go and search for image compression. You might get a website and you can go and upload the image and compress the image. Super. Anyone having any other question? JPG is the most efficient image format. No, PNG. PNG is the most efficient one. JPG is the most smallest in size. It compresses because JPG does auto compression. JPG has a feature called auto compression, which means saving the file itself, it compresses another save. So technically speaking, mostly JPG file will have a smaller file size than PNG. So JPG is auto compression. File formats for raster and vector. Yes, these are file formats. They will not ask you this. This system is giving you. That was a confusion. Good. Actually, JPG and JPEG both are the same. If you take earlier days Windows, like olden days Windows, your file extensions can be there only in 3 letters. Okay. So because the file extensions can be there only in 3 letters, they made it JPG. After that, the latest version of Windows, it allowed 4 letters. Then they made it JPEG. That's why even if you take this one, Excel and all, you all save it as Excel SX, no? If you take older Excel files, SXLS. Even if you take, for example, PowerPoint, it's PPT. Earlier days PowerPoint. But nowadays PowerPoint is PPTX. That's because of the Windows. But again, both of them are the same. Even if you take JPG and JPEG, both are the same. Even the file extension is different. Any other questions, There was one past paper question which asked about that regarding the JPG. What is the advantage of JPG compared to PNG? So the advantage of JPG is it is auto compression. So comparatively, the file size will be less by default. You don't have to separately go and compress it. Should we remember JPG? You have to remember a few examples for lossy file formats and lossless file format. So JPG is a lossy file format and PNG is a lossless file format. What is direct deployment? Direct deployment means, let's say you're building a system for an institute, let's say that institute already is having a manual system or is having an existing system. If they're going to stop that old system completely and start using the new system, that's direct deployment. You stop what you're doing all these days and start doing it freshly. Directly, you're using a new one. Yeah, sure. Yeah, you can send. Yeah. pilot deployment is something like this, man. For example, if you take what do you call WhatsApp, can you transfer money in WhatsApp directly? Does WhatsApp give you the opportunity to send money through WhatsApp? Can you connect your bank account? No. But there are two or three countries, I can't remember exactly which country. There are two or three countries WhatsApp has allowed you can send money directly from WhatsApp. Now that feature, even though WhatsApp has given those two or three country audience, have they given to everyone in the world? Have they given to all the countries? No, only two or three countries. So this is like pilot deployment. This part of the application basically, without deploying that for everyone, they're going to deploy this application only for a group of audience. Right? Like for example, imagine your school is asking me for a system to generate reports. Okay, the report card. So in your school, let's say there's from grade 6 up to grade 12, let's say. So without now you have grade 6, grade 7, grade 8, grade 9, grade 10, grade 11, grade 12. No, without giving the system for everyone, I will first give this only for the teachers of grade 6 and see is the system working properly. If it's working properly, then I might give for the remaining people. This is called pilot deployment. You do only for a group of people. If it's successful, then you can release it to the public. I mean, you can release it to everyone. So in pilot, the main part is you're going only for a group of people, not everyone. Got it? There is nothing called system deployment. You have direct, you have parallel, you have pilot, you have phased. Anyone having any other questions? Parallel means you start using new system. Existing system will be there, but you will be mainly using new one. Suppose let's say you have issues in handling the new one. Let's say you don't know how to use. You had a small issue in the new one. Quickly you can revert back to the old one. Like imagine, let's say I'm going to start a class. Let's say all these days I'm doing a class using Master IT website, and I'm going to tell okay from today onwards we're going to start going for new website abc.lk. So if it's direct deployment, I'll completely stop Master ID website and directly start using ABC. This is direct deployment. In parallel deployment, Master ID's website will be there, ABC will be there. I will ask you to come here. But let's say if you're finding difficulties in this, you can go here as well. That's how parallel works. Iterative incremental model. That's a long topic. I need lots of time to speak about that. But didn't you get all these questions in the class? What were you doing in the class? Anyone having any other questions related to what we learned in today's paper class? Ilman, I would recommend you to go and see past paper questions and focus on that. Because they never ask you about application in PowerPoint lesson. You get maximum 2 to 3 marks. Okay, I'm going in the meeting. If you have any questions, you can WhatsApp me. And